We overcoming adversity, doing it at all costs, making wins at all loss. Yeah, the world is all lost, yeah. Ain't no turning back, we headed straight for the stars, yeah. Oh yeah, we overcoming adversity, doing it at all costs, making wins at all loss. Yeah, the world is all lost, yeah. Ain't no turning back, we headed straight for the stars, yeah. Oh yeah.
Welcome to the Overcoming Adversity podcast. It's all about transformational growth and a resilient mindset. I'm your host, Michael Allison, and today we have the CEO and the founder of Bridget Freedom Coaching Program. She's a top coach in the industry. She's also a business life coach, professional development coach, leadership and development coach, a sales trainer, and a motivational speaker. She's also the author of the book Stuck on Ready, which is the bestseller, Mastering the Entrepreneur Mindset. She did have her own fair share of setbacks while growing up, but she did overcome those adversities. Let's welcome to the show my good friend, Miss Bridget Hom.
Thank you. I love the applause effect. Hold on.
Welcome to the show.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here with me. Obviously, I wanted to have you on the show for so long. I've been totally inspired by your story, by your journey. And I said, I got to speak to her and have her share her message and share her story so she can help inspire our listeners. So as we get started here, so to get to the level of success where you're at now, can you tell us what it took for you to get to where you're at now?
Being stuck on ready, Michael. I mean, literally not stuck in sabotage, stuck in fear, anxiety, stuck in the negative what ifs, but stuck on ready to take action, say yes, and make moves to move the needle for business growth and personal development. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So I remember when I was reading your book and I was trying to understand what is stuck on ready. And I was trying to like dig deeper into the book. And I found that like anything that comes at you in life, you just need to be ready for it. And there's no second guessing, there's no half stepping or anything like that. God has prepared you to be prepared for whatever it comes at you in life. So I really love that point in regards to you sticking to that. I wanted to ask you, when you got to being into the coaching space, what led you to that?
Oh, I would say two things motivate people to change. Pain and pain. Or pain and desperation, I would say. So the truth was, when I launched my coaching business, I had just moved out of my big, beautiful home. I was on my way to getting Zoom divorced. My three boys and I moved into an apartment, and then virtual school became a thing. And I had a job in the seniors industry. I had a placement agency where I found the right assisted living or memory care facility for seniors. And that kind of disappeared as well because for the protection of our seniors. And so I really had no idea what I was going to do next because Bridge to Freedom coaching was just a side hustle that I thoroughly enjoyed. I had like 3 clients at the time. And so I had to figure out what to do next to make income happen. So what happened was, I always like to say God runs the show sometimes. And so I got a random Zoom business networking link in my email. And I don't know about anyone listening, but I had no idea what a Zoom was. So I click, registered. Oh, all right. So I show up Thursday morning at 8 a.m. This gentleman named Brian goes, Bridget Hom, can you give your 30 seconds? And I'm like, dang it, he mispronounced my last name. What am I supposed to say? And literally what came out was this, with all the confidence that I didn't have. And I said, Bridget Hom, you're a Bridge to Freedom coaching. Are you ready to level up? And within 6 weeks, I had 6 clients. My 90-day Find Your Freedom program was born, my self-paced programs, speaking engagements, group sales trainings, and the book Stuck on Ready. And here we are today.
That's amazing. I wanted to tap into something to develop that resilient and that drive and that mindset that you have. Did anything from your upbringing empower you to like pull into those resources to take action in what you're doing now?
Absolutely. I say I grew up in an abnormal. I had an abnormal childhood because my parents stayed together. They were married for 45 years. We went to church every Sunday. We had family meetings, okay, on Sunday nights. I can't even make this up. Where we would hold the minutes. We would talk about last week. We review last week's minutes, and we talk about what's going well. I mean, it was probably no one else on the block did that. My dad always had his own thriving businesses, and to this day, my dad and my brother are in partnership. And I actually did speaking and training for them, which was really cool. And then my mom was public speaking. She was always involved in radio. And so between the two of them, it was almost like the perfect storm: public speaking, marketing, sales, branding, make moves to serve others with solutions. And we always had huge gatherings at our house based on the ministries that my parents were a part of. And so just being raised with so many people and being forced out of that comfort zone and at an early age, I think really did mold me into the person I am today.
Wow, that's actually fascinating. I didn't know that you came from a family of entrepreneurs and speakers, so I see where the talent comes from now.
The and siblings, three younger siblings, conflict resolution skills, team and leadership building skills. I'm the oldest. Yeah, the whole family scenario kind of shaped me today, as all our family scenarios do.
And can you elaborate on that dynamic a little bit? I guess what was it like with growing up with siblings and just having family meetings and family gatherings and things like that?
Well, having an Irish, Italian, German background, it's a lot of like, I mean, just describing the dinner table experience, it's
Tell me
a lot
about that.
intensity. It's like people are crying, people are screaming, people are laughing. It's a really intense experience being a part of my family. But my family was always inviting people who didn't have family over. So we had so and so Linda over for dinner. We had people for Thanksgiving I didn't even know. I'm just like, hey, how's it going today? I mean, my family really exhibited that you're called to love your neighbor. And the people who are hungry, invite them in for a meal. And so it was always kind of exciting. And I think I started to adopt a romance with life
Mhm,
from all the people that were constantly around us.
mhm. So, what would you say has been like some of the most important lessons that you garnered from your parents?
It was funny when you asked that question. My mom always used to say to me, don't do anything you couldn't put on the headline of a newspaper. Don't
I've
do
heard that before. I've heard
Right?
that.
She used to say that, and she always used to also say, "Get your face on." Even when you're going to the mailbox, put your face on. You don't know what's gonna happen today. And I still do, obviously. She says this is a public service, okay? Put this on. And then my dad, you know, I did a national business plan competition in college. And even as early in high school, my dad was like, "Hey, do you want an internship? I'll get you in here." And he was constantly saying like, "Man, look at my daughter. Look at what she's doing. She's just making big moves. I'm so proud of her." And at the same token, he's like, "Hey, let's go to a movie and let's go get something to eat. Do you want to go shopping?" Like we always had that camaraderie.
Nice.
Well, and that stuck on ready mindset to love life and to serve people and how they went hand in hand.
I think knowing that you come from a family that was so loving and always like giving and just passing on knowledge that they've given to you, and now I see that you put that into your business. I wanted to talk about like how did you think about like when God is like rolling side by side with you and you're partnering with God in your business. I wanted to understand what made you make that decision, in regards to like everything that you do. Tell me about like your faith in like your family, the faith in your business, the faith that you do with your relationship. Can you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, as a teenager, let's be honest, it wasn't always me and God or God and me. I had those times where I'm like, I'll pray when I'm in trouble and God
Mhm.
can get me out of it. And so I did have some faith there. But when I stopped doing those foxhole prayers and started to listen to God more than I talked
Mhm.
at God, things start to shift for me. I even remember, I was working at a restaurant called Macaroni Grill, and I was praying. I just prayed beforehand. God, help people to see you, not me, when they look
Mhm.
at me. And this woman, she didn't really like me. Okay, and
Mhm.
so she had to talk to me for some reason in the restaurant. And she's like, "You have something that I don't, and I don't know what that is." I mean, clear as day, she said this directly verbatim, and I'm like, I've got Jesus. Do you have Jesus? I mean, it was that simple of an interaction. So it was very interesting to see prayers manifest in
Mhm.
real interactions, um, and God continues to reveal Himself to me that way. And so, in regards to my business, I remember a time when um, I didn't involve God in my business, other than praying, help me send clients my way, help me with this. But one pivotal moment, I was walking to my mailbox and I had just gotten a gift card to Publix, and I had to also pay my sitter that night
Mhm.
because I was still a single mom at the time. And my business was going, and it was going pretty well, but it could be better. And I remember God saying to me, "Okay, give your sitter this gift card." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so for payment." He goes, "No, no, no, and pay her."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Whoa, what?" And he's like, "You're not going to have to worry about money again." And I'm like, okay, that was really random. That was because it wasn't my voice. It was a quiet, still voice in my heart that came out of nowhere, left field. And that that's God's voice when you
We're
spend
talking
time
to you.
learning. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Well, what's next? And then a tithing book came at me. And so I started making God my employer and understanding myself in the position of the CEO of my business. And it just things kind of started to transform from there. The anxiety started to melt away, all the sabotage started to melt away, because when you have the creator of the universe as your business partner, now come on now, I mean, really.
Before we hop into your business, I wanted to, if you could share a little bit of your story of your college experience for our listeners that may be in college, that's thinking about going to college and actually are in college right now. What was that like for you as a young woman getting ready to step into that space?
Well, I think I was pretty typical in this area for going to college. I was looking forward to going into nursing school, but also getting a minor in partying. Um, those 2 things, I'm pretty sure, though, I saved more lives flunking out of nursing school, because I just couldn't hack it with all the studying. And, I soon realized freshman year of college that I did have a problem with alcohol,
Mhm.
and I feel like God put some really crucial people in my life to call me into, like, "Hey, you're not showing up the way I knew you were, like, at the beginning of this year. What's going on? And be honest with me."
Mhm.
And so I had some good people who called me out and said, like, "Listen, do you have a problem?" And I'm like, "No, maybe." And so God actually, I felt God say in my heart, "I can't use you with my plan for my plan, my purposes with you drinking, with you like this."
All right.
And so I actually got sober in college. For any of you listening right now, um, you can get sober in college. It's a thing, and your college career will be much more successful. Just a side note. I mean, it's just logic, right? But college was interesting because I had a professor who read my papers, an English professor, and she actually liked them so much in my philosophy on God that she asked me to sponsor her to become Catholic because she liked my philosophy on relationship with God, etc. And so she actually helped me to figure out that I was going to double major in something other than nursing. And then a business plan competition came next in college, and God was just pushing me towards business, marketing, and sales, even though I didn't see it coming.
Mhm.
And it just became it was just already a part of me. But life experiences showed me that this was my next step.
Absolutely. So when you got ready to transition out of college, did you say I'm going to go straight into the workforce or I'm going to go straight into entrepreneurship?
Oh, I didn't say either one of those. I wanted to get married. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have my children young.
Mhm.
And so while I was working, I was actually working on my master's in Catholic theology at Notre Dame and
Mhm.
working as a campus minister. I met an amazing man, and we ended up getting married. And then I transitioned into working down here in Florida because I went to college in Indiana, and I became a legal news reporter. Now you might say, "Wow, Bridget, that's a huge shift of all the other things that you were doing." It actually wasn't. I did a lot of journalism within college.
I see.
So I had a journalism background. I was the editor of the newspaper, and I did a couple editorial internships. So all I had to learn was law. Because the truth is, to get hired, and I say this to college students all the time, you just have to be you have to be knowledgeable, likable, and trainable. Okay, that's it. So if you could pitch that and say I could do anything you need me to do here because I'm likable and teachable, you'll most likely land a job. Nope, disclaimer, not always. But yeah, so I launched into motherhood, aka domestic engineer,
Mm.
Domestic engineering for about a decade, and I put that on a resume, Michael.
Really?
Yeah. Well, why not? See, tell me if you disagree. Okay.
Okay.
Team and leadership building skills, right?
Yes. Check.
Conflict resolution skills,
Check.
time management, task management skills.
Check.
There you go. That's valuable for any company right now. You would say those skills are what you want all your employees to have, right?
Wow, you re-engineered the whole thinking of that.
Marketing, right? That's marketing.
I got you. I got you. So you decided to be a full-time mom once you graduated from college, and I imagine, like you just mentioned, that came with a lot of learning, I guess. Or did you have help while you was raising your kids?
Oh yeah, I definitely had a lot of help. In my 20s, I lived a very different life. As I said, I did get Zoom divorced. In my 20s, I had a very, for lack of a better term, bougie life. I had help with nannies. I had people to help with cleaning. I had all of that, and I kind of just was able to enjoy my children and travel. And it was a very, very different kind of life. But I will tell you this: in the back of my mind, I always had that vision that I was going to launch into business in my 30s.
Okay.
Always, always, always. It was really important for me to have my kids young so I can play with them because I play a great pickup game of basketball.
So
Power
you
forward.
hoop?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the neighborhood kids to this day are like, "Hey, Bridget, are you coming out, or are you?" I'm like, "Bring it." So I'm grateful to be a young mom and and still play those games with my kids.
So I need to understand this. So you was having a great life, and then you said you got Zoom divorce. If you may, could you share that part of the story? Because I need to understand that.
Well, okay, it's this simple. You get married thinking it's gonna last forever,
Mhm.
and then if the other person's priorities change, if they deviate from that vision, it's like, well, I acquiesce to your request to not be together because everyone has a different idea of what freedom looks like.
Mhm.
My idea of freedom is married with children, having a thriving business, traveling, going to church on Sunday, playing pickup games of basketball, kicking middle schoolers' butts, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I get you.
so actually, it was just we had differing views on what we thought life should look like. And by the grace of God, God's like, "Listen, I'm gonna give you a drive to work like you've never experienced." And so God actually I can define my divorce experience through God's promptings because it wasn't my idea. I
Mhm.
really wasn't all about that. That's not who I am. And so in that scenario, it had to be a God initiative to get me to this next place of healing, wholeness. And God's like, listen, I'm not done yet. You got to keep making moves, woman. Like, I don't get to sit for very long,
Right.
sabotage or star or whatever it was. He's like, and actually, I did keep moving. I salsa danced my way through my divorce. Never looked better in my life. I highly recommend salsa dancing lessons for anyone who's going through a massive life transition. It will help with your mindset, confidence, emotional intelligence, and just relationship building. But that's probably what I want to share about that story.
No problem. No problem. So you spoke about sabotage. So I wanted you to talk about, like, I read that a good bit in your book. So can you tell me about what do you mean by self sabotage and just access and like limitless potential? Because I hear that in the message that you're speaking, that you just kept going. You didn't let something set you back while you was going through this transition.
Absolutely not. And that's something that's a muscle that you grow. That's a mindset muscle
Mhm.
that you grow, you nurture, and you work out every day. You know, I I see so many entrepreneurs and business owners who let themselves sit in that mindset of stuck, of, "Man, I'm just not feeling motivated today. I know I should reach out to people, but I just that's a justification, and you don't have to justify the next right thought or action or the next
Right.
right thing, so I see people letting outside circumstances, living under the influence of circumstances, environment, situations, emotions. Sometimes feelings aren't your friends in business, and I see them let them run the show and make their decisions for them. And that's just not today, how honestly, I always go to how I overcome that. But let's talk about a little bit more about sabotage and what that looks like for
Yep.
people. I'm sure you've experienced it too.
Absolutely.
You're like, I'm
Absolutely.
good for like, no, you're not really, we've talked about this. Uh, but sabotage is where you sit in self to the extreme, where you sit in self and you're not serving others. When you are obsessed, authentically obsessed with serving others with solutions, there is no place for those sabotaging thoughts or feelings. For me personally, if I get to a place where I'm like, I'll start to hire worry on my mental team, or fear, or doubt, or anything on my mental team, I just instantly go into, man, I am doing people a disservice if I don't get up today, take action, and show up for my life, because I know I have the solutions that will help people to get to that next level of their business or their life potential. And so when you start to get into that mindset of seeing it as a disservice to not serve others with solutions, it pushes you out, it breaks you free from that self-sabotaged mindset or mentality.
100% agree. I recall for myself that when I was going through a whole bunch of heartaches in business, when I was running the construction company and things was not going well, I was subjecting myself to those things, and it was not until like I started like doing a whole bunch of soul searching, and then just getting much more in tune with my faith and much more in tune with God, and just understanding like the law of deservability, understanding like abundance is our birthright. You know what I mean? So we have so much potential and so much gift that God has given us to utilize to live in a purpose. And I felt like I was underutilizing those things. So with that being said, can you talk to me and tell me a little about the birth of your company, the Bridget Freedom Coaching Program?
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you the secret, okay? The
Okay.
secret of the behind the scenes of when I got started.
Okay.
Um, so what happened was I started coaching people. I had a bare bones program of
Mhm.
what I knew that they needed to be introduced to. But, just like a chef doesn't cook the meal until it's ordered, I realized that I had to be stuck on ready to serve others with solutions based on my wheelhouse of expertise. And so while some parts of my program were not 100% created, when someone said, "Hey, can you help me with this?" I said, "Absolutely." I clearly remember who I was working with when I created one of my sessions as hire and fire the right mental team. It was through working with clients where I started to adopt new components of my program. So as an entrepreneur, I learned that I needed to be stuck on ready to create, and realize that it's going to be a constant business evolution to serve the people who are coming my way with solutions. And so now I have the signature, Find Your Freedom program, that's a self-paced on demand. And then I have the signature 90-day program, and then launching the Stuck on Ready 8-week program with group coaching based on the book. And so it's been really amazing. I always say, if you're new in entrepreneurship, uh, the answers and the solutions and the parts of your program that are missing, they will be found in your prospects' answers. And so make sure you're having those conversations with people, because they will tell you everything you need to know for your next steps to scale your company, to grow your business with the content you need to create.
Absolutely. So I wanted you to elaborate on what are the laws of desirability. I know I've mentioned it and you've shared it with me too, but for our listeners, what is the law of desirability?
So the law of desirability is it's the core of every person's identity. Because we create our reality and our relationships and our business not based on what we desire, but what we truly believe we deserve. It's actually that subconscious program that is active all the time, no matter what. We could be selling ourselves. I'm excited about today. I'm motivated, but that subconscious program's like, no, you aren't. You're listening to, the 20, 30 years behind you that have happened. And that's really what dictates your destination of your future successful self. So the law of observability, it's all about alignment. It's all about making sure that you are very clear on what your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are selling you on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Because we do, we create everything based on what we believe we deserve. And that's a deeper level than just desire.
So for the business owner that's stuck in their business and they're trying to get to the next level, I wanted to ask you this question about business in a box. I heard you mention that, and I thought this applies so much for an entrepreneur that's stuck and don't know where to go. So can you talk a little bit about that for me?
Oh, absolutely. I talk about the business in the box mentality, the God in the box mentality. If you put anything in a box, you're compartmentalizing it and you probably have some blind spots that you're not looking at. The business in the box mentality is where you get into that place of transaction business practices versus transformation business practices.
Mhm.
And so when you're in that place where you're not even inspired by your own words that you're saying, you're not inspired, you have no motivation, you're saying the same things, expecting different results.
Right.
So you're setting in expectations, premeditated resentments. And yeah, that's pretty much you're trapped in the business in the box and you need someone to help you get out.
So I've talked to quite a few different entrepreneurs, and I hear those types of stories. And I also tied that to limiting beliefs.
Mm.
And I always hear that, and I was like, "That's what this is." And then sometimes I've spoken to some entrepreneurs, and they're doing it, but they don't feel like they belong there or they should be there. And then I'm tying that to imposter syndrome. So I wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit about both of those topics and how does that correlate with the program that you're teaching for your company?
It's funny. I just got out of a session talking about business imposter syndrome. Sometimes it's important. It's like, okay, if you have limiting beliefs or lies that you're selling yourself,
Mhm.
because you believe everything you sell yourself,
Right.
then you're doomed to go to the wrong destination, not your future successful self. So limiting beliefs in business as an entrepreneur, they're dangerous. You want to be mindful and beware of those. And how you can start to be aware of those is doing a simple strategy called the brain dump. I always suggest this. Set a 2-minute timer and write your headspace out on paper. Gain some awareness of what you're selling yourself right now about your state of being. And then maybe write out some things that are making you angry, depressed, sad, scared, and figure that out. Like, all right, am I adopting this as my truth when it's not, clearly not alignment with me? Right.
Right.
Or is this just a feeling that I'm trying to adopt as my truth? So feelings are fleeting. Feelings have no place in business, but building relationships requires relatability and empowerment. So sometimes people are like, well, I want to feel good about this. You absolutely can. It's about, you feel good about building connections. You feel good about building your business in an empowering way. And
Mhm.
so limiting beliefs, you want to always make sure that you're not harboring any of those because they do become a subconscious program. And remember that subconscious program dictates your reality, relationships, and your business.
Right.
Then imposter syndrome, man, that just means that you're adopting feelings as your friends and lies as your truth, and that's all that is. So if you have any beliefs right now that are in your headspace saying you're not good enough, you can't run a business, you can't do any of those things, those are lies. Call them out. Say this is not true. This is a lie, and then acknowledge what is true. That's a quick exercise that you can do to overcome that imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs.
Absolutely. Can you talk to me about the importance of having discipline within your business and creating those types of habits, especially as an entrepreneur. I notice sometimes, even myself, have been there too, where I'm not as consistent, and I realized I had to get much more consistent in regards to being disciplined. So, knowing that about your program and what you're teaching, can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. There are a couple of components you always want to have as an entrepreneur. You want to have lead tracker worksheets. You want to make sure that you have certain conversation points down, like a closing conversation. You want to make sure you know how to task manage to be profitable, productive, and proactive.
Mhm.
And so you want to make sure that you're structuring your entrepreneur day to monetize your influence and turn relationships into revenue. That's really the goal.
Right.
So many entrepreneurs, if they go from the employee mindset into the entrepreneur mindset and lifestyle, don't realize, oh, now I'm the person who's in charge of structuring this day. But more importantly, how you structure your day starts with structuring your headspace. And so, whatever can get you into that right mindset, motivated to go out and to build more relationships, get more visibility, structure your conversations to get to the point where you can offer people solutions. That is always the goal. So, number one, you always want to get in the right headspace every day, whatever that takes for you. Number two, you want to focus on what activities help me to move the needle and monetize my influence to serve more people with solutions.
Mhm. So, being a successful coach that you are now, did any of your past experiences while working jobs or while you were in college or from your childhood, did any of those lessons that you learned impacted you now as a coach?
Yes. One in particular, well, actually, two in particular. I remember getting my first job in high school. It was actually at Romano's Macaroni Grill, and uh, it was a very, it was a very intimidating, large Italian man who interviewed me, and he goes, "Miss Becca, what can you do for me here?" I'm sure I'm messing up the accent really badly, but I literally said, "This is what came out." I said, "I could do anything you need me to do here." He goes, "I like this confidence. You're
Mhm.
high." I didn't even know what I was gonna do. I'm gonna be like poker facing it. It was interesting because I got 10 other people hired, and he actually called it the Bridget Rain. Really funny. But fast forward in college, took a couple business electives, um, because I needed to fill the slot. I wanted to graduate, I wanted to get out of there. And so, an advisor suggested I take a few. Ended up getting into a national business plan competition. I'm like, I just need to graduate, people. I already have a job. I already have everything. I've got my master's lined up. And then what happened next was I had a business partner in that creation of the plan. And when we had to present the plan, going around the Indy 500 race car track in a stretch limousine with ex CEOs, ex founders, and a camera in your face and a stopwatch, she fell ill. And at that, my professor goes, "Bridget, I know business isn't your thing, so you don't have to go and present this if you don't want to." And in that moment, I had an opportunity to either just say, "You know what? It's not for me." But I didn't. I said, "I put my blood, sweat, and tears in this business plan. I will show up." And I will tell you this, my feelings were I was terrified. I was terrified. I put a suit on and I just showed up like I was ready to win the competition because you have to show up with that confidence and the conviction. And you know what's so funny? You're reminding me, I've never told anyone this, but I actually got on my knees in this bathroom before I had to go and interview with the newscaster and get into the stretch limo and give a 500-second pitch. I got on my knees and I said, "I surrender all to you, Lord. You do this. I am not capable of doing this." And so that's literally what happened. I walked out of there completely confident, smiling helped, and just showed up and presented the plan on my own. And that was a really profound moment because it was like, okay, do what you don't want to do to get what you want.
Right,
That's discipline, right?
right.
And just show up stuck on ready.
I was listening to a story about this guy that goes by the name of Cowboy, and he did this marathon where he did it in 50 days, and he lost all of his toenails while he was going through this marathon. And what he said he wanted to do to prove to himself in regards to developing like habits and becoming the best at what he does was he had to put himself in uncomfortable situations in regards to overcome all of these adversities. So I just thought it was interesting you sharing that part of your story too as well. I wanted to touch on if an entrepreneur was getting ready to go full fledged into this space, can you talk about maybe some adversities or some setbacks that you had while in your business now, while getting started in your business, and then how did you overcome those adversities?
So probably as a startup entrepreneur, the number one hurdle that you have to get over is the no's, not manifesting the no's as your truth and seeing them as, well, they just aren't in alignment with me. The law of deservability is all about this. There's no such thing as acceptance or rejection in the world of sales. There's only alignment. And so you have to get over the hurdle of the no's because you're going to have the no's, and stop keeping count of the no's and start keeping count of the yeses. So
Right.
self-validating your success and not expecting anyone else to is probably the best advice I can give to someone who's starting as an entrepreneur. And just do it. Just go in and build relationships, and you'll be able to grow that sales muscle. Uh,
So, so for someone that's doing what you're doing now, and you have kids, you're married again, and now you have this business, can you speak towards balancing and managing your time in regards to operating a business at this moment?
Absolutely. I was very early on. Well, as a single mom for a time, I had to honor all of my roles in a very real way. When the kids got off the school bus, it was mom role, and so I had to be extremely intentional and laser focused on serving clients, prospects, creating content and programs between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. And if there was a day off of school, man, that was going to be a whole new level of work that week that I had to do in 4 days. And so what I created from this for anyone who has ever worked with me is managing your top 5 priorities based on your roles, not based on the to-do list that never ends until you're dead or you're unemployed, right? You have no clients. But managing your workload first and foremost based on your roles so that you never forget or neglect one of them. So mom role, wife role, Bridget role, um, entrepreneur role, and coach role. And as successful entrepreneurs, sometimes we start to leave some of those roles behind us. We say we'll get to that later, and then we develop an imbalance within ourselves, and our subconscious mind knows. And so that eventually leads to burnout if we don't honor our roles each and every day. So just adopting that strategy gives you the opportunity to feel fulfilled in a life setting and business setting, because you're always going to, if you're a real business owner and entrepreneur, you are authentically obsessed
Right.
serving others with solutions. So that's not the problem typically. It's the problem of the balance, the balancing act, and making sure like I need to show up authentic and motivated in my own life, not just in serving the lives of others.
Wow. I wanted to talk about something before we get ready to hop out of here. So, like you mentioned that you had to face the fact with alcohol at an early age, and then you had to deal with divorce, and then you jumped into entrepreneurship. So, if you could share with our listeners, at what point in your life did you actually identify finding your purpose and living and like charging towards that?
That's a great question. Honestly, I always had an innate desire to help people solve their problems. Early as middle school, I would get calls from a friend of a friend who would say, "Hey, so and so told me to call you. I'm going through some stuff."
Mhm.
I didn't need to know any backstory. All I needed to know was, "What's your problem?"
Mm.
And so there's always been this innate desire. based on, just helping people solve problems, whatever that is. Whatever it is, because whatever that problem is, it's blocking you from being your authentic self, having your limitless potential, whatever that is, I need to help you solve it if you let me. So it's always been that ability to be very, very present. And that came from, spending a lot of time observing humanity and spending some quiet time with God, learning and cultivating to listen to that voice over anyone else's. And so that's probably where the confidence and conviction came in.
I like it. Bridget, when it's all said and done and all the people's lives that you've touched and blessed, what is the impression and the legacy that you're going to be leaving behind?
Just that I gave I authentically served any person in front of me with some sort of solution to get them to more and better.
I like it. So I've been thinking about that question, and like I told you on Monday, partnering with God and starting this business, and I've been thinking deeply, deeply, deeply about that question. So that's why I wanted to ask you and all of my guests, because I think that's so critical for us as business owners and why we're doing what we're doing. So you shared a lot of information on here, and I've been thrilled just to have this conversation with you. I've learned so much more about you that I didn't know from the book or I did not know already. So, if you can you share with us some key takeaways, some life lessons that our listeners could impart into their lives, into their business, life, family, anything that you want to share?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. What I would say is that you deserve daily to partner with your future successful self. You deserve to have a romance with your own life. And as an entrepreneur, you deserve to know and practice empowered client interactions every single day. And so, whatever you need to do to make that happen, that is your mission for today.
Absolutely. So, Bridget, thank you so much for joining me and being on this podcast with me. I want for our listeners to get in contact with you, to work with you, and all these things. So, please tell us about your business, some of the benefits about working with you for your business, and how they could contact you.
Absolutely. I just realized my name is actually my calendar link right there. BridgetHom.me. So if you need to gain some new business growth strategies, if you need to gift yourself a mindset shift based on where you're at and scaling your business, if you're a startup entrepreneur who just needs a little bit of direction, I have a couple of different programs. But before I even tell you about the programs, I just want you to have some direction to be your authentic self in whatever space in business you're at right now. So if you hop on my calendar, I will absolutely give you that.
Absolutely. Well, Bridget, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your journey. It's been an absolute pleasure just sit across from you and talk to you. Um, you know, I love the fact that we can speak about faith, we can speak about business, we can speak about personal things like that, and they all still connect. And ultimately, I know that we're still serving people. So before we get out of here, just want to tell you thank you. I wish you nothing but success in your business, wish you nothing but success in your life, nothing but blessings to you and your family. Thank you so much for joining me, Bridget.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. And I wish you the same.
Thank you so much. Until next time, guys, we record every week. I'm your host, Michael Allison. This is my friend, Miss Bridget Hom. Peace. Thank you.
Can't complain at all. Couple dollars in my pocket, know it come and go. Been working on my body, getting healthier. Thank God for clarity.